Santa episode. Christmas came early, kids.
It's early this year, boys.
We do it different. Yeah, you could hop on in, dude.
Yeah.
Live music.
Chiming in.
We need a campfire, like a little mini campfire flame going on.
Something right there would be great. We got a session planned for tomorrow night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're going to try.
You have your drum set or no?
No, probably going to do some bongos.
Why not? Yeah, bongos are sick. I used to have a cajon too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I want to get into your music stuff too.
Bro, yeah.
You got a lot. You got a crazy, dude. You have an interesting life, dude.
I do some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's funny. Welcome everybody back to Tattooing Out Loud podcast. Today we have a tattoo collector / I would say professor, instructor, teacher, philosopher, blues backgrounds. Why not? Go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, how long you've been doing that, where you're from, and then we'll just kind of kick it off from there.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Omar, for having me.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be great. I mean, dude, you're full kimonoed out.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. My name is Jarod Huber. I'm originally from Modesto and Turlock area. You know, I've been living in Tennessee, in western part of Tennessee, for about 3 years now. Yeah. And I moved down to Clovis about 14 years ago.
Right.
I was there for about 10 years. Before that, I lived in Northern California, up in Santa Rosa. Spent a lot of time in that area. Been to, obviously, like North Dakota, we talked about.
Yeah, we talked about what part of North Dakota did you go to?
I was in Mayville.
Okay.
It's like kind of sort of, it's about an hour and a half or 2 hours from Fargo.
Okay, so I was just in Dickinson last week.
Okay, yeah.
And so literally I flew into Bismarck, Dickinson, right? So I go into Dickinson and I have a bunch of, I've been going back and forth since like 2015. Today's episode is very, I would say this is more of a tattoo collector perspective kind of thing, but also the times that we've hung out and the times that we've, from instructor to professor, and you're working for a company that they're not kicking around pocket change, they're kicking around, this is like, you mess up, it's like $1 million mess up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even at the airport in North Dakota, you see all the regular commercial, like the one commercial company that flies into this place, and there's a bunch of hangars, and I asked one of my guys, I was like, what are all those hangars? That's all the oil field owners.
Yeah.
They have more planes that are like the private versus like United, and only United flies into Dickinson at the moment. I think they're expanding it, but there's only there's one gate in Dickinson. It's crazy to see, man. It's like, okay, those are, some people aren't hurting and some people are, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I work in the industrial gas.
Industrial.
Yeah. So most of the oil field guys, when they're using us for like purge jobs, right? That type of stuff. So very tough work. Oil field guys, they're doing it outside in 105 degree heat down here, like in Bakersfield.
All conditions.
Yeah, very difficult work. But I get to know some of those guys. Really good dudes.
Right.
Really hardworking guys.
Yeah.
Much credit to those guys. I mean, they're out there, like I said, in the heat, in the elements, welding out there with a stick rod, and
that's different. California, doing it in Bakersfield area where our oil, more reserve is versus Midwest and following that pipeline.
Yeah, down in Texas,
right?
There's a lot going on down there too. So. It is a really interesting business. I know North Dakota was real hot for a lot of years, and seems like some governmental stuff got in the way, shut them down quite a bit, and hopefully they'll get back up and running and stimulate that economy up there. Right,
because that also does, how we feed the world, they kind of feed the economy.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you see that perspective of you're in Boston and you get pomegranate juice, and you see it's coming from the valley, pistachios or nectarines, peaches, everything that's out here, and the whole Central Valley, like agriculture, but then there's the economy side of it, of what you can kind of tell where we're headed when you see certain, the price of barrel, price of or the fracking amount, or the percentages. There's a lot of stuff with that people may not know.
Yeah, you can see right now the global economy is just all over the place. I mean, with all the talks of tariffs and everything else, and the transaction fees to import goods is just ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah. But we have a lot of natural resources right here in the U.S. And I don't know the current administration. I'm always real hesitant on politics because I don't know those people. But if I were to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation like this, you know, I may be different. But until then, it's just who knows what they're saying. They're talking to TV and trying to please people. So I don't really know, but I know for sure that we have a lot of natural resources here in the U.S. And the government, for many reasons, has, you know, stopped, you know, people from drilling here or limited the amount of drilling that we can do here. And if we want to stimulate the economy, to me, it seems very easy from a production side of things. If you give people the cheap, give them lower cost fuel, you know, people will be able to travel more. If they can travel more, they can go buy, you know, spend money on a hotel at night. They can go out and do events. But if you're, you know, for a family to go out and spend, you know, $200 to fill up their gas tank, and then it costs you, you know, $250, $300 to spend the night somewhere, and then it just adds up. So, you know, to stimulate the economy, you've got to have lower price of fuel. And it really starts by opening up those opportunities. The resources here
for sure.
So I'm excited to see what happens. The inflation aspect of it is just wild. I mean, you look at things like the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You know, a lot of these, it's hard to predict what's going to happen, but right now everybody's anticipating 6% inflation over the next year or so. Could be 7 or 8. I mean, it could get wild. So, you know, don't really know what's going to happen, but I would just, you know, tell everybody to brace for it. You know, be ready for, you know, hard times. Just always be ready for hard times. But the economy definitely could. We see it a lot in grocery stores. You know, that's maybe not a direct impact, but the costs of goods increases tremendously when you have domestic companies that are purchasing products globally, and it may not be directly linked to one specific thing, but a lot of things. And small items, you know. So when they bring all those small items in and it's a 20%, 30% increase, they've got to pass it on somewhere. So that maybe
someone's got to take a hit for that.
Someone's taking it, and it's always the consumer.
So but you guys are also able to see, you know how you can watch the stock market, right? You can also watch in your industry. Is there such thing where you can kind of see, okay, something's coming because of the being doing this for so long, like your experience? You're just like, when I see this kind of a wave with margins, like you mentioned, someone's going to be paying for this, like the hit, right? Someone's going to take the hit somewhere. And so do you ever follow that? Do you ever see, and kind of, because you did predict some things that you're like, stuff's getting rough. I got opportunity. I'm not going to pass up on it. And which I want to kind of highlight too, because for the longest time, we all rolled in the garage. We all, you know what I mean? You had your own, like, you had your own little
garage crew, man.
Your own little cult going on in there. You know, it's like, the wild style cult. You know what I mean? Man. Shout out, you know?
Shout out to Wildside, Lexington, Tennessee.
The Wildside. So I feel like but then you kind of dropped it. I mean, I'm sure you guys spoke about it before. You even told the guys that were hanging out at your garage. So we had the garage mats, and Jarod was, I mean, open doors to a good crew to just be like, guys, like, you know, everything's on lockdown or things are shutting down. My garage is open. Let me know. And you just had it really controlled. And I thought that was cool. And that's the time when you then told me, I'm bouncing, dude. I'm moving to Tennessee. And I was like, what? You know, it's like, that's crazy, man. That time frame. You
know, 2020 was a weird year. I think everybody would just say
it sucks beating that same drum, but it really did. It dictated all this that we're in right now.
I was just talking to Jordan. I'm like patient zero. When it comes to COVID and all that stuff happening, but when it hit, I got really, really ill, like in January of 2020.
Like right at the
very get-go, before anybody even knew what it was called.
Sure.
Okay? And I was just like, oh my Lord, I got so sick. So
I think I remember that time frame, dude.
Man.
When you were just gone for a long time and you were like, something hit me.
Man. I got hit bad. So And then, as we were in California, hypersensitive state, very, proactive towards COVID and all that type of, I guess, intervention.
Sure.
They took extra precautions, and so during that time, as the world was shutting down, you could see the inflation really spike at that point. It became a lot of people could understand this because it became extremely expensive in California.
Right.
Everything just went up 20% or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was crazy. So as a family person, man, it was just, I'm not a rich person, so I have to.
But we have to look out for.
We have to look out for the future.
Yeah.
The kids and family, and make sure that they're doing well.
Yeah.
So I got the opportunity to leave the state, and luckily I was able to work remote, and some things really lined up for me.
You and your wife.
Yep.
And your wife, yeah. With you guys having a crazy story also.
Yep.
From the times that you've been in the chair and we've been like, putting ink on you and stuff, like we just started talking about this whole thing, and I'm like, dude, talk about right place, right time, and right people. This whole moving out of state thing wasn't new to you, because you've lived and you were like, hey, I dropped a pin here, I'm moving here. I played ball, I got into drumming. And you're telling me, I'm like, wait, you're literally unfolding these layers that I was just kind of like, dude, you were a drummer, you've played this place in, like, what was it, Sac or somewhere up north, right? Because you're in Turlock, right? So you had a band established there. Was that because obviously it was earlier, then you played college, right? So you have this whole timeline. Mm-hmm. So the beginning, before you moved and you were in Turlock when you were younger, how did all these things start? Like when you started taking the path into college and playing the ball, like with the band, creating this band, playing one style, the style that you're playing too is like, you had a lot of cool, almost like a transplant or like not rancid, but it was like you had a little bit of like punkish, right? It was like, how did all that spark?
Man, I guess initially, I grew up in church, and so my mom was an organ player.
Okay.
And so after the service would be over, I always was, I guess, innately a drummer because I always wanted to play the drums.
Yeah.
So after the service was over, they had this altar call, and everybody would be down there, and people start to leave, and I would just hop up on the drum set, and I'd play with my mom.
Oh, cool.
And she'd play the organ, so I would be just jamming along with her. Didn't really know what I was doing, just kind of learning from watching.
Right.
And
you're self-taught then drumming.
Yeah, self-taught. Yep. Yeah. So I would pretty much just play like that for maybe 30 minutes at a time, once a week. And then as I got a little bit older, I got into my teen years, early teens, and I had lots of friends that were interested in music. And we had a guy that had a little studio kind of like this, but he had his dad was into recording or something.
Cool.
And they had a drum set there, and they had some amps. So maybe like 13 or 14, I just started, we got together with these guys and started just playing punk rock music.
Yeah. That was how did you get into punk rock? Like, was that just because the guys you were hanging out with?
Yeah, like the guys that I would, growing up in the 90s, it was like you had a variety of different. Back in the day, you're talking like you had some like Green Day that was like before they got really political. It was really just punk rock music.
Yeah.
And that was big where we were at. So. I used to love those drums, those beats, and
get the rhythm, feel rhythm.
Yeah, and it wasn't terribly difficult to play. So we just jammed, and so that kind of turned into some other bands that I started playing with, more hardcore metal type of bands.
I remember you were telling me about the metal part. Yeah. I was like, okay, that tracks. I would see you and I'd be like, okay, that checks. Like, if you were to tell me, I play in a R&B drummer, I'd be like, nah, man, you're tripping, bro.
Yeah,
That's like something like, No. But when you said you started mentioning these band names, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I could see that. Because I was curious if that was your exposure to tattoos. You see what I mean? With like...
Yeah, I guess the culture.
Yeah,
culture. A lot of my mom would have never let me have any tattoos growing up.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah. I want to talk about, let's talk about the oppression with... What was holding you back? Right?
Yeah. Never once was I allowed to have those types of tattoos, but... you know, as like I said, I got older, I started playing in lots of different hardcore bands in my teens, and then I was still playing sports, so it was very seasonal. You know, I come out there when I could, and then you know, when I couldn't, obviously I was playing sports, so I was dedicated to some other stuff, and you know, played a lot of ball. So I was playing, you know, baseball and football, like a lot of the guys in the Valley here. You know, pretty hardcore with that. And ended up getting a scholarship. So I went down to LA, down to Azusa Pacific University. And I played baseball there. And, you know, it was going really great and everything, but a difference in the academic part of things there was a little bit more challenging for me with the, I guess, higher level of education. So I had to take a step back. I ended up coming home, and I was still jamming with guys when I would come home, working out. I started doing jiu-jitsu around that time.
What year was that?
This is around early 2000s. You know, so my cousin, his name is Josh Neal. He owns Turlock MMA, and back then he was an MMA fighter. So they would have jiu-jitsu like 1 hour after Thai kickboxing class. So we would just grapple, and you know, maybe there was a blue belt there, but it was all white belts. And you know, I learned how to like jump a guillotine, you know, throw an arm bar,
some wild style.
Just basic stuff, you know. And that was my first exposure to it. So,
but you're athletic, so that kind of like
I was like, you know, telling the coach, I'm athletic, I can, and it's totally different, but you know, it was really athletic. It was hard workout, man. Like those workouts back then were just like crazy, and
it's a different kind of push, man.
Different push. People. You walk out of there like I used to throw up all the time. And, you know, like be like, oh my gosh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. But they had some great fighters that came out of that.
Did you actually fought? Did you have amateur? Did you have amateur?
No, I never did. I wanted to.
You just did the like the BJJ, like the worlds and stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was later on. But during that time, it was mostly just like, you know, it was fighting. So, you know, the first lesson I ever had in jiu-jitsu in the early 2000s was if someone puts you in close guard, you punch them right in the mouth. You know? What
are you going to do? Yeah. It's like come close enough, you're going to get,
you're going to get smacked.
For sure.
But they had great fighters that came out of there. They had like Jeremy Metcalf, Carter Williams, and they, you know, Carter Williams won K1.
Right, he was a K1 fighter.
K1 fighter. Yeah, he was, you know, we used to laugh. Like nowadays we laugh because it's kind of like when you go into the gym and like Tong Po's there and he's just like kicking the wall. Boom. Carter would just hit that bag and the whole room would shake, it felt like.
Echoes,
Yeah. And one time they threw me in there with Carter. And I was like brand new
to spar, like 100%, or just like
I was all padded up. Okay, I had like one of the big old belly plates and chest plate.
It's like the rubber.
Yeah. I had one of those on.
Taekwondo gear.
I'm like, all right, I'll get in there. You know, and it was about 30 seconds in, and he just leg kicked me right in the stomach.
You felt it
with the tire on. And I was like, no way, I can't do this, man.
It goes through the armor.
Dude, he was on another level with that leg kick, and so I got out of there. But I still would, you know, every once in a while I come in and spar with my cousin there, and he is a great fighter. I mean, he did Strike Force, and
Strike Force is huge around here, dude. It's a different generation shift now where we are with disciplining kids, but back in the day, like my dad would call the guy that would start a fight with me and put us on a Saturday in the backyard, get gloves and figure it out. Two dads hanging out, grabbing beers, and it's just us duking it out. You know, that was different. Like nowadays, you don't really hear about that anymore. You know, that's what my dad would do. To be like, call him up, tell his dad come over. You guys are gonna figure it out in the backyard. You're scrapping it in the back. So that's. I
mean, for me, it was more like I mean, there were several instances growing up where like there would be arguments and that would escalate into some sort of physical altercation.
Sure.
And I just remember like thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know how to fight, I can't ever say I was like extremely bullied or anything. I mean, I wasn't. And I was always a bigger kid, so I really wasn't. They weren't going to pick on me.
You weren't a target.
Yeah, I wasn't a target, man.
We had to go for the legs. Yeah. we can't really pick this guy out.
Yeah. Right. I just remember being like feeling a bit helpless. Like if something did crack off right now, there's not really much I can do.
Sure.
So
yeah.
And then when UFC started coming around, I guess in the late 90s, that was like
it's inspiring.
A very inspiring thing. These guys are, I mean, I used to go down to, we had a place in Turlock called Video King, and they would rent UFC videos. So I would rent the videos and watch them, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, man, that's just wild. So when I got the opportunity to go train in Turlock and start doing it, the reason why I got into it back then was those were the baddest dudes in town. For sure. They were badasses. For sure. So for me, just to be there and to be around these badasses was just like, I want to be like that.
Right.
You know,
surrounding your
my cousin. Yeah. Like he was just such a savage that I was like, man, I want to be able to keep up with them. Yeah. And, so yeah, make a long story short on that part, I didn't do it out of any sort of necessity. Okay. I just did it because it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And I wanted to be like those guys, you know, I wanted to be raw like that. I mean, those guys were they were on another level. Yeah. So I wanted to be like that, you know? Right. But going to college, I mean, so as I was down in LA and going to school down there, I had some friends and they were from Hawaii. So that's how you ended up. Yeah. Okay. So I just packed up a backpack after, going to school down in LA. Yeah. I was struggling with grades and, the school part was so much harder than what I thought it was. And the sports was good. They were a great school, great athletic program. But for me, I was a bit immature still. Okay. So, at that point, I pretty much packed up a bag. I literally packed up like a backpack. Okay.
That's your luggage?
Yeah, it was my luggage.
Yeah.
And moved out to Hawaii. Right. Started going to school at Hawaii Pacific University out there. And in about 3 weeks after that time period is when I met my wife. Okay. So that's you. I thought you were just going to go visit. I didn't know you were going to go like take a bag to move. Yeah. Like I was just going to go to school.
That's dope. I was like,
let's just see what happens out here.
Right.
So I did that. And like I said, I was just sitting on a picnic table.
How was she out there? Because she's, all right, so a little backstory on wifey's from Brazil.
Yeah, she's from Sao Paulo. Yeah,
Sao Paulo. Okay, so was she just attending school there because of
volleyball?
That's right, the volleyball.
Yeah, she got recruited to go out there. Her and some other girls.
So two athletic. Yeah, that's a couple right there. Yeah.
Saw her walk by one day, and I was like, "That's the one."
Right.
And she turned me down a bunch.
All right, that's how it goes.
Stood me up.
Yeah.
No way, this guy's crazy.
Right.
But I kept trying to talk to her, and I was like, I'm going to give it one last chance. And then she said, okay, let's meet up. And that's, sure. I was working downtown in Waikiki. I had a little job. Okay. And when she called me, I was on my lunch break. Oh. And she was like, let's meet in like an hour. And I swear, I quit my job on the spot. Yeah. I took my little Schwinn bike.
Hell yeah,
dude. And I drove over there and met her.
Risk it all, dude.
Risk it all. Right there.
That's dope, dude.
True story, man.
That's so cool. And then you guys both traveled out to, is that when you went to the Midwest or something like that?
We went to North Dakota. I had a coach that had followed me from high school. Playing ball. And he was like, I know you got some eligibility left. Come out to North Dakota. So I'm not leaving her on this island.
Sure.
So we got married and we went from Hawaii to North Dakota in like a 3-day stint.
Wow. Quite the culture shock too.
Quite the culture shock.
Especially for her, like, hey, welcome to the Midwest. If she's never been to, it's like nothing but plains and,
Yeah, but she's really laid back and chill, so it was nice. Like there's lots of space, and we go on walks, and it was beautiful out there in the summertime, and it's different. It's not like, it could be humid, but it wasn't like super just heat index like it is here. Right. You still cool down, and the winter time and the fall came a little bit. It comes early compared to out here,
for sure.
So we would enjoy that, and that was really nice. I played ball out there. I did football out there. Okay. And then after this semester was over, it was like I remember going to the bank that morning and looking up at the the bank sign, and it said the temperature.
Okay.
And it was at like -6 degrees.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, like, you know, we just had enough.
Yeah.
So the semester ended and I went back to California.
Okay.
So that's when, at that point, when I got back to California, I was like, I got to do something with this music stuff. And so her brother, my wife's brother, came to stay with us. He was a bass player. Okay. So we lived in Houston, out on like this old farmhouse, and we had a shed. Okay. And we opened up the shed and cleaned it out and everything.
Yeah.
I bought some drums and got a bass amp, and we started looking for a guitar player. We started putting music together and looking for a guitar player. And we found a guy who lived out in Denair, and he wrote songs, and he was pretty good. I mean, he had a good voice.
Yeah.
And he was really good at the guitar. So we got together with him, started writing music. And that band was called The Coming Attraction.
Okay.
And we played probably, I don't know, like 15 or 20 shows, mostly in Modesto. And that was really like, I was like, man, I love this, because we started like opening up for some larger bands in the area. We got to be part of the scene, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Time. At least your exposure in the.
We used to record and make our own demos.
Yeah, demos. There you go.
Yeah. And yeah, so like part of the scene, and you see how other bands are kind of operating, how other bands are, how what they sound like.
Yeah, soak up game.
Yeah, soak up the game. Right. Started, you know, maybe we would jam with some of the other musicians sometimes, and
it's connections for you, because people need a drummer or whatever. You guys need another band member, a singer, whatever the case, second guitarist. That's how, because I was briefly into the music scene also, and like back in 2010 or 11. Yeah. At the same time doing jiu-jitsu at the first, you know, my first exposure into the doing the MMA thing, and it was similar to the UFC. You know, seeing that UFC and the what was it, like the pride fighting? Yeah. And I just got exposed to it, and it's like, you know what, I want to go try this. And well, before that, I did the the kickboxing, Muay Thai kind of thing. So I was really into the striking, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know, let me check out this jiu-jitsu gym. Yeah. And it was like a Gracie school. And then that was like my first in to that. And so from there, I was still playing bands. So there'd be times when I had a guitar or something in my car, because it's like I would roll, do the class like it was a job, dude. Like, you know how you get to that point where jits feels like I got to show up. Yeah. That's like a job, because that's like, that keeps you in too, that motivation. Like, you know, you get I heard a professor say one time, some people, they try it out, they get a tryout week or whatever, and then they just get the bug, like they just get the bite, and then they go all in, dude. Like, next thing you know, and then they're like, competitions, and then they would have never thought. It's cool to see training partners evolve into, like, you see them as a white belt where you once were, and you see the new guys, and you're just trying to mold and shape. I've heard that so many times, where it's like you want to mold this white belt into, and it's like, who would ever thought where you guys are now? Imagine like really sticking it out, and life hits. Like, I'm going through that right now, where life hits where you can't train the way you want to. Yeah. Like when it's competition time, or even when you guys are working adjust, or you can abide with the schedule, then you can train. And if you have the support, wifey knows that this is my outlet, so I can go train, or like whatever the case, or like, you know, especially if you got a family or not. When life hits, take a break, but not quit. Just know that always come back and keep at it. But at one point, it seemed like I'd show up to the gym like I was going to clock in, you know? Yeah, oh yeah. And then from there, I'd go play a gig at night, you know? And I was going back and forth until I'd be on stage still with the adrenaline, you know? Oh yeah. From the gym, you know? So you're just like, yeah. But it's cool that you found a school when you came back out here too, right? To like train? Yeah. Is that with your cousin or?
No, a little bit later on down the road. So I started playing with different bands. Yeah. And I was working, so I had a full-time job. I was also going to school like at nighttime.
Dang, full schedule.
Yeah, and training really wasn't a possibility at that time, because I didn't have enough money to like pay gym membership fees. Sure. And B, it was like I had a family and I was just like, didn't know how to bounce. I was really young. I was like in my early mid-20s and I was like, I want to do it. I'm going to check that box at some point.
For sure.
But I can't check it right now. I'm too busy trying to chase this other thing, this music stuff that I just love.
Yes.
And it's been like ingrained in me since I was a kid. I want to see what happens here, you know? Right. So, you know, I started playing with different bands, and through a Brazilian connection, I met this other guy named Jarod, okay? And he's a bass player, and he's like a phenomenal bass player. Okay. My brother-in-law ends up going back to Brazil. So here I am. I don't have any more bandmates. I'm like by myself. And so I meet other Jarod, okay? Yeah. And other Jarod is just like a maniac bass player, like just amazing, okay? Yeah. And he's got the best gear. I mean, he's got a Music Man. I mean, he's like he's killing the game, okay? Yeah. So
well equipped.
Yeah, like we could have probably just had a band with just me and him playing, you know, like just a bass and drum band, and we loved it, and we were playing the most, you know, difficult music that we could play, you know, timing wise. We're playing a lot of math rock, right? Just trying to stretch each other as hard as we possibly could.
Abstract metal kind of thing. Yeah.
10-minute songs, just doing as best, you know, best as we could just to try to make it what we like to do. And so then, you know, we were like, man, we want to play live. And, you know, he had a lot of music experience playing with different bands growing up, and so did I. So we're like started auditioning different guitar players, and we came across a guy that was also really great. Okay, like his name was Nick Crine, and Nick was just phenomenal. So we started jamming with him, and then one of the singers from the first band I was in, we played with him one night down in Modesto at some bar, and I remembered him being just an amazing singer. So I reached out to him, got him to come out, and started jamming with us. And so we wrote some songs, started recording some music. And
what genre was that?
It's progressive rock.
Progressive rock?
Yeah, rock music. A lot of influence in, you know, I would say Perfect Circle and, you know, Deftones, obviously.
Yeah, and Tool, maybe.
Tool was really popping off right then. So we were listening to a lot of that style of music. You know, maybe some old school stuff like Rush too, you know, so just a lot of different types of influences there. And so, you know, got the band together. We called this band Jinchi, okay? Like Jinchi.
Okay.
And so we started playing local shows. There was this place, I don't know if you remember, called the Fat Cat in Modesto.
Fat Cat, I remember Fat Cat.
Started playing at the Fat Cat, you know, going out to there. They had like promo events on Fridays. We'd show up, you know, have some beers, eat some pizza, network. They would have like networking events. Yeah. You know, meet other bands, you know, tag along to shows with them. And then, you know, they would come headline our show, and then we would headline theirs. And, you know, got up to Sacramento. And I would say, I mean, we were playing for about 3 years. We got on the rock station. There was like a popularity contest, you know, that where you could like
you submit your song or something.
Submit your song, push the button.
A lot of cool local stations would do that and get them to play your stuff, and people would call in like or vote or something, like give it like a, you know, like back in the day, like the likes to like boost it or something. I remember that. Yeah,
we were on there liking it like all day.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So we got on the radio, and then played like X Fest, you know, sick. Down there.
That's what I remember you telling me about X Fest.
X Fest. Yeah. That was a big deal back in the day.
Heck yeah, dude. They had a crazy roster on that, you know.
Man, I think like Snoop Dogg played one year or something like that.
Yeah, it's like what Rock the Bells kind of is with like the hip hop, and then X Fest is dope.
It's a great time, man. Like played all up and down Valley, probably over 100 shows. Oh, wow. 3-4 years was our time frame. I started writing some independent music, doing my own thing.
Sure.
You know, I'd have Jarod come in and he would write a lot of the music, and I'd play some of the percussion. And then we were in studio with Lucky Lou. I don't know if you know who Lucky Lou is. He won they used to have this thing called the Mama Awards, the Modesto Area Music Awards, and he won like a Lifetime Achievement Award through that group. And he recorded a band called Granddaddy.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Granddaddy.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was like a producer, sound engineer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He was just an all around great guy to have in the studio with you. He knows how to make it sound great. So
mix master. Yeah.
Recorded a lot with him. did like 2 different demo albums, separate demos with him, and just worked on different sounds.
Yeah.
And just got to a point to where, in the Valley, maybe it was a mental block, but in the Valley, it was really hard to, get to a level to where, I don't know, music would start paying for itself.
Right.
Where your time and investment, you could do all those things. There's lots of examples of people who have done that, but we were just like, man, if we're going to do this, we'd probably have to move down to LA or something.
That's usually where the scene is at.
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to follow the scene and opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, a lot of people, if you're into folk or whatever, you want to go to the Northwest. Like, you're going to go Seattle, do shows, do cafe, do open mics. And then out here, I mean, that's the most stereotypical thing is, like, you want to make it LA, the Roxy Whiskey, all these spots. Yeah. And you're bound to get at least some sort of, but it's hard because it really is knowing somebody, like you said, prospecting to know someone that's like, hey, well, so-and-so works at this studio.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it and I've done it and I've lived that also. And I just seen a lot of the music industry stuff. And I was like, man, that's a tough egg to crack.
Absolutely.
For sure.
When you look at it and you get to that point, I'm like, at that point, 28 years old. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to live on the dollar menu and live in a van and, maybe make it, maybe get on some tour.
Right.
And, I just wanted, my goals in life started to change at that point. So on the other end, my career started taking off on the work side. So
Sure. How did you get into that? The work, like, how did that come? Because were you doing already something with like the industrial stuff or no?
No, I wasn't. I was a farmer. In the Valley for 10 years.
Okay.
From about the age of like 25 till 2017. Right. So I've been there for almost 10 years, being a farmer for about a decade here in the Valley. And it was, my dad had worked in the industry, and it was more of like we knew a lot of people in the farming business, farming industry in Central California. Yeah. So it seemed like a good fit to get into. So that's how I started off. But then I was also going to college at nighttime and, finished my degree, and, still farming. And when my career started taking off, I got recruited by another farming company up in Northern California, Santa Rosa. So I took off and went to Santa Rosa, and that's really where I stopped playing as much music. I started writing my own stuff, more getting into like vinyl and like listening to music and digesting music as digital versus vinyl, and listening to all the sounds and how it was intended to sound versus how a producer made it sound on digital, which would be more flattened out.
Yeah, and the warm tones of a vinyl.
Low bass tones that you get off of a vinyl record.
It's hard to replicate that, and there's nothing like putting on a vinyl. That's why I love when you go see. There's still some bands out there. You go and in the merch area they have a vinyl of their album, so you can pick up their album, and then they also have the vinyl option. I think that's so sick because then you can, dude. I have a ton of records. I'm a record head, bro. I got a bunch of records, dude. I even have stuff from like Janis Joplin stuff. I have like old Elvis and just pop that in, or like BB King. I was a huge BB King fan. Dude. I love that blues and
blues sounds amazing.
And folk, like the Garfunkel or the Steven Stills Nash, the Nash Bro, the Nash band they created. Like that's such a good band, dude. All that stuff is so great.
There's a lot of vinyl out there that.
But you're right, having an ear for that. You have to develop an ear to to have like the sound, the difference of higher pitch sounds to the very bass low sounds. And it's like, I
really love instrumental music. And some of the like 60s, 70s artists are amazing. I got into vinyl, like I said, pretty hard. So up in Santa Rosa, they had like a record store where you could go to and buy $1 vinyls.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go in there and just buy a bunch.
Drop some bank on them vinyls. I've been in bands before where we had such a good, again, it's like, okay, it's like, what are we all got to be on the same genre or some sort of like, let's stick to this and not be all over the place where you see some bands and you don't fit. Yeah. And then there's other guys that are like, oh, this guy could wing it, improv it. And then, so it's like, you're right. It's all that. It's a huge mix.
Huge mix.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, Like music, I'm playing with my imaginary beard.
I was gonna say, so the beard, the Santa thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks, man.
What's the? You just decided I'm gonna do this podcast.
It's just how I feel.
Right.
I was like, man, I feel like wearing a Santa. Beard.
I want people to understand, the people that are able to watch this on the YouTube versus listening, to be like, he came in, he's got the Hayabusa gold weave, it's like the black belt on everything, and it's like, but the Santa vibe. Yeah. So it's cool. Do it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Gotta just do you. I've had this conversation with lots of jiu-jitsu people.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you feel that understanding music or understanding how to write music could help you with jiu-jitsu?
I think so. Because it opens up, it stretches that muscle of creativity. I mean, it's like chess players, they love jiu-jitsu because it is similar to the whole, playing a game of chess. Like, you got to capitalize or lead someone into a trap, or into your game, but also have something in your back pocket, have something like ready to. But then with music, same thing with color. If you hear a sound, there's been studies where people can actually, like, what color do you see by listening to this?
Yeah.
Oh, yellow. But it's also because, and then you go to like a song with like a minor chord, or like in tune, and they'll go for more darker colors. That opens up, like, I encourage my kids to do that. Like, I don't want y'all to be artists, just have an artistic, like, not necessarily artists as a career, but have the artistic mind open, like, so that you have that creativity. I don't instill them, or I don't like lash them into, I need y'all, no, you guys are going to be artists like dad. Like, no, I just want you guys to practice art. It doesn't matter what it is, dude. But I don't, because people will ask me so many times, like, are your kids going to do this? Or you think your kids are going to tattooing? Maybe. I don't push them to. I don't. By all means, they watch me so much work, and it's like they've been side by side when I've been tattooing. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about it. My kids have been raised and grew up in a tattoo shop. That's unheard of, bro. That's like, that's so, back in the day, it's because there's a lot of stuff going on that you don't even want, but I don't at all push my kids to. I just want them to have that creativity, that direction of keep this open, because this is going to help you think differently, and also help you with everything, with the way you learn, the way you to see something in a different angle, in a different perspective. I think that's important. So writing music, I feel like it does stretch and work out that side of the brain, and therefore it'll help your jiu-jitsu to just, when you start to slow down and dissect it and like be creative with your jiu-jitsu. There's a way to be creative with it, I believe, because then why would there be so many different styles, right?
Yeah.
The styles and schools, and the way people, like, this is the Gracie, different schools from like the Machado, and everybody has their own creative way to do it. It's like their own style. Yeah. Like you have a style of doing your work. You have a style of doing your writing, like you said. Okay, that you can then have a instructional class of Jarod's drumming. You know what I mean? And that's your style, how you drum. Yeah. And that also, I feel like, has been unlocked. So now you have this passion of music. You have the jiu-jitsu life, right? You never stopped training, right?
Yeah.
During the whole music playing and.
Oh, I never was training during that time.
Okay, it wasn't like okay.
We were doing like, my schedule would be like, Monday school. I'd go to work all day, and then like I go see my family, and then at nighttime I'd be doing school.
Right.
Tuesday I go work, go see my family, band practice. Wednesday, work, school. Thursday, work, see family, band practice. Yeah. Friday night playing a show. Saturday night playing a show. Sunday night maybe playing a show.
Stacked.
And doing that 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And if we had a chance on a Sunday afternoon, we weren't playing a show anywhere, then we would be practicing. Yeah. Getting some. I was pretty adamant about practice the same way I am with jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. It just, when school wasn't in session, I would be hitting these dudes up to train or practice every single day. 2 hours a day. We're gonna run through this song like 6 times.
You're just ready.
Yeah. Especially as a drummer, the worst thing that can happen as a drummer is like you lose the beat in the middle of a show. Right. So I was driven by that fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose it, so I would want to over practice and get the timing right and, just be really prepared. So when I get out there, if I messed up, I could jump back on really quick, or, if I broke a stick or something happened. Yeah,
you know
I can adapt and without really dropping it or losing it for the rest of the guys.
Right.
You know,
right.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, for me, like I guess for being a drummer and the understanding, like I guess even like understanding how to read musical notation, like that was never a big. I mean, I did like band in junior high, and you have to learn a little bit.
Drum music is when you read drum music is very different than reading saxophone, trumpet music.
I would say like drumming with jiu-jitsu gives, if you're a decent drummer, like like you can hold a beat, okay, and you understand how to play a basic beat and some transitions, okay, and still keep the beat. That would give you an excellent advantage to jiu-jitsu. And the reason is because you understand two basic concepts, which is timing and technique.
For sure.
All right. And obviously the motor skills of doing that.
Yeah.
You know, with jiu-jitsu, a lot of the technique, like regardless of the schools that you go to, you know, we all pretty much know the same stuff. There's some guys that are way better at it than others, and you know, guys that are really, really good. I mean, there's levels to it. Just like listening to Meshuggah or some, you know, different bands out there that are. We were listening to Gojira earlier, and just levels to this. But if you understand that timing, and with jiu-jitsu, if you're guard passing, doesn't matter how great of a guard passer you are, if the timing is wrong, you're not going to pass the guard.
For sure.
So you have to.
Well, I remember you telling people that, like, hey, time it. There's a time, there's a feel, for sure.
The accidentals too, like with music, there's a lot of accidentals, and the same with jiu-jitsu, like lots of accidentals that happen, things that happen that weren't exactly planned for.
Yeah.
That's the artistic part of it.
Right.
That's when, you know, when you hit something, or from a musical standpoint, if you make a mistake, but that mistake actually didn't turn out to be a mistake. You know, you just thought you made a mistake, but it was an accident, and that actually becomes part of the song.
Right.
Right. Same with the passing guard or like retaining guard or any of those types of things. If you don't make any mistakes, there's no way that you're going to be able to even to know how to do it correctly.
Right. You have to make those mistakes.
You have to make them.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a big part of it.
Right.
So, you know, I think, like I said, timing and technique, you put those two together and you have a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, you have a great drummer, you know, and if you come from that drumming background, I think that if you understand tempo, you know, how to match energy, tempo, and technique together, you could easily walk into a jiu-jitsu studio, you know, get your ass beat like the rest of us for a little while, but as soon as you can pick up the technique and you start applying the tempo and the technique together, man, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, even one thing that you capitalize big at, just from when we would train, is you would say, some days you're the hammer, some days you're the nail.
Absolutely.
There's so many things that you've said that have just been like always like little notes that you just kind of never forget, and you're just, you know, where it's slowing down and know when to have something locked and loaded or whatever the case, and then you're just, you know, just flowing. Reaction and response to certain things too. That's pretty big. How long did it take where you are as a black belt and to feel like, I'm sure, did you go through the whole, do I deserve it? Am I ready? And break down the things you were going through when you're like receiving a black belt. It's like, I'm ready, or I must be ready, or I must, like, you know, how did all that?
It took me about 8 years. And I trained a lot. So I trained a lot more than most people did. For sure. And competed quite a bit earlier on, but not more than other people. I wouldn't say, there was guys out there that were competing a lot more than me. But I competed when I felt like I needed to. Some belts I competed like 6 times, you know, other belts 4 times. So I wasn't like an avid competitor, but I was an avid trainer. And a lot of the problems of me going out to compete was just to not feel like I was ready.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't, even though I would train twice a day, 6 days a week, you know, or 5 days a week, and one day on Saturday, you know, I just didn't feel like the timing and the tempo was ready, and I would go out there and I wanted to perform at a high level, but I just never felt like it was all the pieces were lined up. And then when you go to actually compete, that's an art all of itself, understanding how to prepare to compete, getting your body and mind, sleeping. You need to sleep good.
Right.
You need to eat good.
There's a whole ritual.
Yeah. And then cutting weight, like I've had to, cut a tremendous amount of weight in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And then being able to still go out there, muster that warrior inside and perform. That is a whole other beast all in itself. And I just felt like, with having a family, working, and I also did my master's degree here in Fresno. It was a lot to do all at once.
It's a lot of juggle.
Yeah. And the competition scene is great. I love competing, but at the same time, like I don't want to go out there to compete. I didn't want to go out there to compete and know that the other guys had maybe more preparation or had better preparation than I did going into it.
Right.
While I was at school or working, maybe these guys were training.
That's a big part of the battle, where you're just kind of like that tug of war in your head. Someone's always going to be better than you out there, and you're always going to be, so you're going into a competition. You just have to full send it, because I feel
full send it.
You feel me? Because I feel like you don't know. Let's just see what you're made out of. I feel like that has a lot to kind of ground you and have the, you're just gonna have to show up and just everything put it to you. This is the time to bring that out. Every dog has their day, right? Because then you'll be like killing it. I've seen guys have killed it, and then they'll have a slip up, or they'll have and it's tough, or it's like you're a champion in one belt, one category, you've got the gold. In other ones, it's harder to get the gold, but that means you've got to work so much harder. You're right. How much time can you put into it, and when are you ready? When is anyone ever ready, even to get the next stripe to the next belt? How does that's like for you to tell me, okay, in a year and a half, you're ready to tattoo. You're ready to work on skin. How, dude? What if I can't? There's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors of you want to get gold. This is what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's all like, hey, you know what? Just go out there and everything as far as put it to work. You could go out there and just get a mind playing too. You hit the mats. You're in the room, competition, loud. Everyone, there's matches going around, and you're stepping into the square. You have to keep it together. Keep it together. There's a lot of stuff going on, dude. A lot of stuff. So a lot
of props to those guys out there that do it all the time. I mean, you're dealing with a whole.
See the ref,
Yeah, it's your turn.
Here we go.
Yeah, like you said, full send it. I've been choked out there. I've had my ligaments snapped out there.
Yeah, man.
And it's real. I mean, those guys are out there to try to kill you. So, you got to be ready for that, and you have to also be ready to do that, which is a whole other mindset too. Because I talk about this with a lot of students, and my students, it is like you have people who are innately killers. Okay, like people who have that dog inside of them that when it comes time to finish a move, they won't hesitate to fully extend it and break your arm or something along those lines.
Freak accidents happen.
But then there's the killers.
The ones that are like...
ones that have... They don't have a conscience about it. Like, they will do it instinctively.
Yeah.
All right? And that's a rare group of people, but they're out there, and they will... they're great at competition. They're going to go for it.
Right.
And you have to be ready for that in competition. And for me, like, I don't have that, and I know that inside of me.
Sure.
Like, when I go to submit somebody, man, I want them to tap, but I don't want to fully extend it.
It's like you kind of pull back a little bit.
Yeah. But there's, like, I when you go out to a competition, like I said, you have to be willing to do it.
Right.
And when you get a higher level in competition, brown belts and stuff, if you don't go for it and have it fully extended and ready to break it, they're not going to tap.
Yeah.
I mean, they know by that point, when your arm is fully extended, that it's either going to break or it's not going to break. And if it's not going to break, they can pull all they want on it. And I'm just going to sit there and wait till they get tired.
Right. I mean, some guys go out there too, where it's like, okay, get the position you want as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Get there. And also, like, they'll literally two-step process the thing. Take down, straight to something, and it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
And it's like, that was the fastest sub, or even from stand-up.
Yeah.
And then the more you climb the belts, the more you have to look out for.
Yeah.
That's another thing that was wild to me, climbing to see, like, okay, at this level, you can do this, you can't do this. Now, if you're in purples, there's certain moves now you can use, but now thinking of a street fight, anything goes. I mean,
goes.
what do you want to do? Do you want to dance with the guy, or do you want to like finish it as fast as possible? Now imagine, like you said, those killers that have that mindset and they go into this competition and you don't know if that's your match. That you don't know if that's your guy. I want to run my game, and that guy doesn't. He wants to.
He's trying to kill
straight
you.
for the dub. Right. You're right though. Well, do you take the arm? What do you do?
What do you do?
Because you're like, I don't know if I have it in me to. I genuinely don't want to hurt this dude.
Yeah, I don't want to,
because we know this isn't a life or death thing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because it's comp.
It's comp.
But the other guy may be like, I'm ready. I just want to.
If I get a heel, I'm cranking it, and you're not going to walk for 6 months.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And you're out there real. Like, this is my passion.
Yeah, this is just, I'm just having a good time. I want to be a competitor, but, you know, that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know, now when it comes to like, you know, belt promotions and stuff like that.
Yeah, right? That's very.
Like, you have a couple ways to do it, you know. So it's very artsy still. I mean, you see guys people that are really pushing for like a standardized, you know, belt promotion system, and traditional, you know. But whenever you get to like the COVID thing, we can go back to that. But it's like whenever you have a certain set of rules that people have to abide by, you have people that are, you know, going to do exactly that, right? They're going to follow the rules, and it's going to be exactly like that. And then you have to give them the belt, but maybe they don't have the other aspects of jiu-jitsu that are also really important, like, you know, like loyalty to your training partners, okay? Like you, and being a good person, okay? Like those are very important things in jiu-jitsu that are kind of often overlooked by performance, and checking the boxes, okay? So obviously IBJJF has their own standards of how long you need to be in each belt.
Right.
But, you know, it goes beyond that for me anyways. It goes beyond just belts. It has to do with the individual person, where they're at in their journey, what they're doing on a personal level. Like if you have a person that has some physical disabilities, and they can show up to training 3 times a week, and they're limited in their movement, but they're always at the gym, supporting their teammates. You know, they're learning the techniques. Yeah, they're trying everything they can to just help the community out. You know, that person may be a better person to promote than the person who goes out to, you know, ADCC, cranks submissions on people, hurts all the teammates, but technically are better at competing or better at training than the other person.
So you look at the very integrity, honor kind of thing of it. I've heard it from female or male clients that are training different schools, and they come in and they're like, you know, one of them told me, you need to do a jiu-jitsu podcast, and I'm like, it's coming. I got Jarod in the books.
Let's go.
I got Jarod in the books. He's coming, right? Don't think of the belt. Just go and do it, because then therefore it's like you're chasing the wrong thing. In a sense, like that can kind of also be like an underlying thing where it's like
creates envy, creates jealousy, all these other things.
Because then you don't want to. That's like a bad habit. Going into the sport, and you're like, if you're driven by this bad habit, and you're just kind of like, okay, well now I'm a brown belt or a blue belt, a purple belt, whatever, and I just want that one stripe. Now what's next? You're gonna want the next stripe. And what's next? You're gonna want the. So it's like, instead of being like, you know what, it happens when it happens, let it come, and then but just stay sharpened with your take on jiu-jitsu and the skill and your performance, and you're being a good partner, being a good people tell you like that's an all-round. I feel
being
like
a good
that's
person,
right?
Developing your skills as an individual is like, you know, don't be afraid to go on the journey. Like don't be afraid to take a ride. Because that's what it is. It is a ride. It's a introspective ride that you're on, that you're going to find all the bad things about you, all the good things about you. You're going to want to quit. You're going to get injured. You know, all these things are going to happen to you in this, you know, 8, 10, 15 year period. You're going to have gaps in training. You know, you're going to get married. You're going to have a kid.
The life that happens
in all of those things. And, you know, just the guys like, you know, I did mine, like I said, 8 years, and that's a relatively short time, okay? But 8 years training all the time and going to school, getting a master's degree, having a family, and still training twice a day, working full time. You know, like for me, my coach saw that, and I was also teaching classes when I could.
Right.
And you know, that's
like giving back to the community in the gym.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Giving back to the community. We did a St. Jude's fundraiser.
I remember when you dropped off for it was like Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
or like
Thanksgiving at the Ronald McDonald House.
The Ronald McDonald, Valley Children's, and we all pitched in, and it was just nice to be able to, like, a gym brought that, a community brought that in of people that train this martial art. Yeah, that is not really. It's not really seen, I don't think. And it's not even to talk on the jiu-jitsu community as like in our community, I don't know. It's just that it was really cool it highlights and backs up what you mean about just being around good people, surrounding, you know, and that everybody was like, hey guys, we're doing this fundraiser, and everyone's like, dude, absolutely. Boom. Yeah. Like, you don't have to ask us twice.
Guys were Venmoing me like $100, $200. I was like, dang.
Right.
You know, we're just going to do an open mat. This is great. We do this anyways.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, you find that too, that through jiu-jitsu, you're very capable of doing way more than you thought you were. Yeah. And it could be in a variety of ways. Like, you can see your potential. Like, oh, I started as a white belt and I was an envious white belt. I was tapping out all these blue belts, and why am I not getting promoted, right? And just because it takes that time, that growth, and you see, oh, when I got to blue belt, man, look how far I've come. Like, you know, I have this little bit of a journey now, and you get to the end of your blue belt, and you're like, man, look at all these. Look what I did. I faced my fear. I went out to competition, and I think I told this story before about in pans, and I said I'm not like I wasn't. And my goal was never to be a professional competitor. Like I have other goals in life.
For sure.
But being at Pans and being in the bullpen there, you look around, there's a bunch of guys in there. They're all really serious. Everybody's like, you know, super nervous. You know, we're blue belts.
Slapping their faces, punching the air.
Yeah, like slap.
You ever see some guys that they're like shadow boxing? It's like, bro, this guy's gonna come out swinging.
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
And I look over, and right next to me is a guy who's blind, and he has a little. I guess what those called, like an eye cane.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called, but. They have he's blind and he's a blue belt, and he's just chill,
calm,
collected. Like, he's not affected by all of this that's going on around him, but himself is just very chill. And he goes out there and competes, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just watching this, and I'm like, what do I have to worry about right now? I have nothing to worry about.
Why am I psyched out? Why am I? Yeah.
Like, I'm good, man. Like, I'm going to go out there, try the best I can. Right. You know, I'm not dealing with anything real. Right. Like, this is, if I tap out, it's over.
I still get to, you know.
I still get to live my life. You know, this so guy with no fear.
Yeah.
You know, zero fear, happy, walks out there. You know, I don't remember the outcome of his match, but he made such an impression on me.
Sure.
You know, that I was just like, oh my gosh, like what a great individual, what an inspiration.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like every match I went in, every competition I came out and came back to the gym even better, win or loss. Like, and that's, like you said, you learn a lot about yourself. That does teach a lot. Yeah. The chaos that goes around in the bullpen, if you've never been in there, like,
it's going to affect you.
It's crazy. Yeah.
You're going to get psyched out being in there, looking over at the other guy, just tensed up, you know, eyeballing everybody, ready to fight people. And it's not a fight. I mean, it's a match. You're going to go out there. They have rules. It's safe, you know, for the most part. It's safe. It's not a street fight.
It's an organized thing.
It's an organized event. So, you know, you know, if I give advice to any of the younger competitors, that would be like, you know, calm down, relax. You know, you have nothing to worry about. Go out there and have fun and learn as much as you can and try to become a better person because of it.
Yes.
You know, that's the...
Calm the levels.
Yeah,
calm everything down. You're good. Like,
and enjoy the journey, man.
Right.
Like, it's such a beautiful, great journey that you're gonna learn so much about yourself. You know, I mean, I've worked with so many different competitors, just training people over the several years, over the last 10 years, really. And different people, they all have different approaches to it.
Right.
But the guy who comes in and is just trying to hurt people all the time, or just going so hard that they're not helping anybody else, that's not necessarily the type of training partner that I want.
Right.
You know, I want the guy who's, wants to work, who's going to go hard, but isn't trying to physically hurt me. Like,
you know what's funny, as you're saying this, there's a lot of guys, and I remember where it's like, okay, but you're hard and you're 60%, maybe some guys like 100, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, Jarod, dude, I've heard, and I mean, it's not even nothing it's like when you guys have came in and Zach, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, shout out to Zach.
Shout out to Zach, dude.
Dude, killer, right? So, and then you hear when you guys would leave in the gym, people would be like, they're going hard, and in your mind, you're probably like, it was a light spar, And everyone's like, dude, they're like killing everybody, and it's funny.
It's never a light spar with Zach.
Right.
He's an animal.
Yeah, that guy's.
Everybody here knows. Jordan knows.
Yeah. So it's like, but I love how what you're saying right now, and I could just hear like some guys will tune in that know you, will be like, Jarod,
yeah.
But no, I genuinely feel that. I feel what you're saying. I understand that. I get it.
Zach is a really good example of that, though, because he's.
But you know what you're signing up for.
Warrior.
Yeah, the times I'd roll with him, I'm like, hey man, let's just
no.
Let's we don't have to turn up the alarm, a fire alarm, and like go. It's like
the nicest guy though.
Yeah, he's such a dope dude. You've got your promotion. You became a quote unquote professor.
Yeah,
you're like, which I mean, I'm just saying that's a heavy title.
Yeah,
you're a professor now. It's like that's your official. That's your paperwork. You're certified, right?
Yeah.
You move. You're in Tennessee.
Yep.
You open a spot. Did you just care to take it on your own? Did you go through some stuff where you're like, I need to take a break from the noise, from the chaos? You collected a group out there, dude, under your belt, under your teachings and instruction. How is that life out there right now? It's a great, I mean, there's great people out there. They're amazing people, really down to earth. However, jiu-jitsu itself is competitive jiu-jitsu. I would say Central Valley style jiu-jitsu, which is its own thing. For sure.
Our aggressive nature, the way that we roll, it's very new still over there. Mm-hmm. There's still more of the old school, flow roll, and no one really gets hurt type of thing. Where I'm at anyways. I'm in a really small town. You have to go to bigger cities like Nashville or Memphis, or Jackson has a great school.
Illinois.
Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah.
They've got a great school, but you have to drive quite a bit of ways to get to these spots, and 2 hours or, 2.5 hours to a school just to get some really good rounds in. So the guys that I've taken on, they haven't really experienced I guess more aggressive style of jiu-jitsu or rolling that has more wrestling based in it.
Sure.
Faster pace, that type of stuff. So I've taken on lots of students, but I've had to teach them like how to roll and, obviously how to not get hurt, but also to, I guess it's from a very grassroots standpoint, like teach them the basis and fundamental, the essence of jiu-jitsu. If you want to be a black belt or a brown belt or a purple belt,
the climb.
Yeah, you want to do these things, you have to train consistently. Like that's a kind of a new concept there. They want to train whenever they want to train, or that they, whatever their story may be, but they don't know or have to maybe think of how consistent you have to be decent at this. My standard for jiu-jitsu is not, you have to be a world champion, okay? My standard is, you might not be a world champion, but you should be able to compete with them.
Right.
Okay? Like in training, you should be able to give them a good roll. You don't have to win, but you want to help your training partner achieve their goals. And so we have that level, that standard that is, I don't know, higher. It requires more work. I don't charge my students gym membership fees. I don't want money at all. I want them to show up. And that has been the hardest challenge, is getting them to show up and to show up with the right attitude. I've had guys quit on me that if we're $0, like, you don't have to pay a gym membership fee. Yeah. You just need to show up 3 or 4 times a week, get better. I want to see you get better.
Yeah.
So just show up. You don't have to pay, you know.
That's crazy.
Don't call it. Yeah, I know.
And it's like, you know, because it's like you're learning from someone that has the experience and background, and for someone to offer that, you would think it's like, hey,
you get a lot more takers.
Show up, dude.
Yeah, I say the same thing.
Right.
But it's hard because, like, people get injured, and, you know, it's hard to remember back being a white belt. Like,
oh, the injuries scare away.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like and there's people have self-confidence, like, they want to do something that makes them feel really good.
Right.
And jiu-jitsu does make us feel good, but you could do other things that make you feel good and you don't get injured.
For sure.
And it's hard to find people that are up for that. You know, like, they could go do CrossFit or work out at a gym, right, socialize a little bit. They go home. They don't have a busted elbow. They don't have to put ice on their elbow or their shoulder or their knees because they got, you know, foot locked or something, you know, like they don't have to worry about those things. They can do other things.
There are other things you could do for a workout, basically, too. Like, besides, you got to really, it's again back to the whole, you got to really know what you're almost like, what you're getting yourself into. And even if you don't know, you will soon kind of get the gist of it, of like, okay, the risk and reward.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was like, yep.
How the kids doing?
They're good, man. They're good. They're just, I'm the same thing. I'm trying to break them out of that shell of the whole, like, jits is tough.
It's tough, man.
It's, you're going to get because you've trained your kids. And I love that. To see that you've got them and their friends, like, hey, bring all the neighborhood kids, and, like, we're going to teach everybody. That kind of says a lot about you, too. It's like, you just want to kind of give this knowledge, you know, you want to, like, teach, and that's like your passion.
It's made such a impact on my life that I want to share it with people and help them also. I mean, hopefully they become a better person because of it. But regardless, it helps you protect your family.
For sure.
You know, it's something you can do for the rest of your life. That's a practical skill.
Yep.
You know, develops all types of aspects of your life besides just, you know, grappling.
Right.
You have to care about other people.
Yep.
You know, that's a hard thing for a lot of people, to care about somebody else while you're trying to murder them.
For sure.
You know,
it's not really common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult concept for a lot of people to grasp.
Right.
I do have some very good students. I've got a great purple belt right now. He's about my size, and he rolls with me every day.
Nice.
I'm trying to dump as much knowledge as I can into him and help his, you know, development. And he's already got all the other aspects. He's got the great attitude, personality, community guy.
You see the potential.
I see him being a great black belt.
And so he's purple belt under you, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one's ever joined in or come see you with some experience, or you're very like a...
No, most of the guys have... All of my guys that I have now all came from another school, a local school, that they're good at what they do. It's more old school Gracie style jiu-jitsu.
Okay, yeah.
So when they come to see me, it's like a lot different.
Yeah.
And
you're bringing a lot of different things to the table.
Yeah, we have a lot more wrestling, like I said, and just more of a submission grappling game.
Wrestling,
good old Central Valley wrestling.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And so they all, you know, the guys I have now, they've been training with me for almost 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. Super good dudes. They train, like, most of them train 3 or 4 times a week. This guy, this purple belt I have, trains with me every single day. I could call him up, be like, hey man, let's roll tonight. He'd be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Young guy's in his 20s, and he's a purple belt, and he's legit. And I'm like, man, I'd love to be your age, thinking of, like, as an older guy, having my stuff together the way you did.
Right.
And you're going to go far, man.
That's great.
You're going to do great.
Did you ever have this inspiration? I know it's kind of hard with your schedule at home, but have this idea pop in your head? It's like, I'm going to open a facility or have like a a school or do something with like in the ranks of, or is that in plans, or where do you stand with all that right now? Because I know, dude, your plate is full already. You're juggling a lot. I mean, before we started recording, you mentioned that you're in town. Literally, this is like work.
Yeah.
But you have that opportunity to still travel. And I've seen you, dude. You've been traveling. You've been to Mexico. I was like, man, that's so awesome.
In Mexico, right? It's amazing.
You actually went to where my family's from, Monterrey, Nuevo León, bro.
You know, they have that saying like Southern hospitality, right? But they also have like Mexican hospitality.
This is it right here, dude. This is the Mexican hospitality, bro. I bring it. You know what I mean? It's like, here, have my snack. Take my fridge. You know? It's like,
so nice people. Took me to some really great restaurants. You know, I had the best time down there. Like I said, great people, great business, great culture is amazing. You know, most of the time, the guys, my business partners, they speak English and Spanish. So maybe part of the conversation would be in English, part of the conversation would be in Spanish. And
the Tex-Mex slang.
I mean, and then they have California slang, you know, where
it's not the proper.
No.
It's cool, man. The culture, indulging yourself in different culture. I mean, the Hawaii, Midwest, and where you are now, it's like, you know, the scenery, nightlife, it shows how it's just adaptability to everything. You know,
life's an experience.
It's kind of cool.
It's an experience, and culture is so learnable. And it's more interesting to me than anything like in the world is understanding different cultures. You know, maybe not really even sharing mine with them, but immersing myself in theirs. And, you know, not trying to have any sort of bias towards one way or the other, but just listening.
Open arms to it.
Open arms, doors. Listening to what you have to say, learning as much as I possibly can from you. Maybe you know something that I don't know, or maybe you see it in a way that I don't see it.
You need to hear that perspective too. It's like, that's pretty awesome.
It's really great, man. I love it.
So then with the school, has that ever been a thought or a direction or a goal maybe someday? Is that something that you think?
When you get people to pay for tuition at a school, and you're dealing with people that are paying customers, I feel like there's a certain level of responsibility that I have over them and their journey and their experience. Okay. And I don't need the money right now. Thank God. I prefer to not have you pay with money, and I want you to pay with your time to show me that you're dedicated. Because then at that point, money's off the table. You're not a paying customer anymore. You're just coming here because you want to get better. And that's what it's all about, just getting better at jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't care about anything else. Just get better at jiu-jitsu. I don't like to have those conversations with students about membership fees. I don't want to collect money from you. I don't want you to feel like I'm obligated to you. I want you to be here because you want to be here. You know, I want you to be committed because you want to be committed. I want you to be loyal because you're loyal, not because I have a gym and that you belong to it and you can tell your friends that you belong to a jiu-jitsu gym. You know, my guys
like a title, a space to be like, hey,
there's a lot of that.
That's an interesting concept. It is a trade. It is a skill. It's a trade now. It's like opening a gym and you have these members come to your gym, just any gym, not even a jiu-jitsu gym, like a fitness, you know, health training, conditioning gym. And then you have the jiu-jitsu gym. And there is a lot of people that hold up to a pride of saying, no, this is the way. If you want to do this journey, this is the route. There is no way around it. There's no, you have to join a gym. You have to, same with tattoo industry. It's like, if you want to be a tattoo artist nowadays, the direction or this opening to tattooing is what it wasn't back in the day. You had to kind of, it's a traditional thing. There was like a step to it. Now it's like open YouTube. Open, which again, there's so many views on all this. On the talk of like, no, this is the way to do this jiu-jitsu journey. This is the way to, like, this is how you go about it. But it starts in the gym, and it's like, you're basically, your knowledge, you're running your own class in this space where that's what you did out here. You know, people were taking private lessons with you. That shows the passion, and you're more driven by, like, your purpose was more so like, just show me this. Your end of it is showing up, paying
attention, learning something new, bringing something to the table, showing kindness to your teammates, being there for your teammates.
Yeah.
I just showed up to a couple gyms and started training with people, and they were like, man, you know, pretty good. And I did that a couple times, and then guys would want to train with me.
Cool.
And so I didn't feel like at that point, like there was a gym there, and I didn't want to like start training his students in that gym. So I started doing something else.
Right.
I didn't want to like take his students from him or have that level of accusation. So I just started doing my own thing, inviting people over. And that's kind of how it happened.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. You have a good group of peeps there, and
yeah, everything is good. I mean, there's been some bad experiences, but mostly the bad experiences is just because the students weren't ready to devote themselves or dedicate themselves on that level.
Yeah,
you know, they could be great athletes and competitors, but you know, I would try to explain the rules like, hey, the rules are like if you're a competitor and you're going to go out and compete, you shouldn't be cross-training, like let's say 6 weeks into your tournament, because you're probably going to go fight that guy, you know, at that other gym. And it's a bit of a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And so I've had to explain those types of things to people, and they don't really take it well, you know, because no one likes to be told what to do. And I don't have I guess what you would say is like the roots with them because I haven't been there for very long.
Yeah.
So they're like, who is this guy?
Right.
You know, why is he trying to tell me what to do? No one tells me what to do.
Right.
You know, and I'm just really looking out for their best interests and the other gym's best interests and not trying to create any conflicts between.
Kind of a disclaimer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're going to join this, but if you're going to do this also, if you're training with me, you know, yeah, just kind of show some people aren't, they don't have that knowledge too.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how it works. I mean,
and depending on how you take it,
that's
like,
fair.
I try to. It's just hard to explain those things to people without them getting butthurt about it.
Sure.
And, you know, I haven't dealt with white belts, man, or blue belts really that intimately. I've been more involved with like purple belts and on for a long time. So going back to square one is really difficult.
It's kind of hard, huh?
It's difficult. It's hard to talk to them
and not overwhelm someone, because I'm sure you want to like give them a crash course in an hour.
Yeah.
Now we're doing this. Now just reap the knee and this is,
reap the knee.
It's like, you know, okay, but it's like, you know, it's like how do you break down a system and, you know, implement that to these people? And you know what I mean? There's got to be a learning process,
a lot, right? So the black belt journey for me has been about that. Like, and I think everybody does when you get belted, you get black belted. You think like either A, like I'm not ready for this, or B, like what do I do now? Like I got this huge target on my back, and you know, like all these guys are going to submit me. And
again, that is a title. That's a certification of, all right, you're a black belt now.
Got to grow up. Right. I mean, you got to go. So I went the opposite way. So when I got my black belt, it was like April of 2020 when the world was shut down. Right. So, you know, I would go to the gym, go to Halo, and train there.
Shout out to Halo.
Shout out to Halo Jiu-Jitsu.
Angel
Lopez. We appreciate you, brother. You know, I would take guys, and maybe some of the guys that were, you know, publicly didn't want to be seen, you know, because of their jobs or whatever, or just wanted a private setting, allow them a space to come and continue to train. And then, you know, I would go teach on the weekends at Halo, and then back in the garage. So when I became a black belt, Jamos.
Jamie.
So me and Jamie would spend a lot of time, and we would just be drilling the same moves over and over and over and over again. And while everybody else was taking a hiatus at that point, like I was training harder than ever at that point, like more time, more reps, more drilling, more live rounds at that time. So I felt like as coming into my second year into my black belt and in my third year in my black belt, I felt like, okay, I'm really now, I feel like I'm more at that level now. I feel like I've done the work I needed to do, and I feel adequate. And I would also cross train, which I think cross training is like the best thing that you can do.
Dude. It's amazing.
Yeah, as long as you're not competing, you know, and you're going to go out to the tournament in a couple weeks, man, cross train as much as you can. I'm so lucky. I got to cross train in Bakersfield, Visalia, Fresno, Turlock.
Out of state?
Out of state. I've been to all kinds of gyms all over, and they always welcome you with open arms. Let them know, where you came from, who your coach is. You want to get some rounds in. They're going to throw you the smoke, catch the smoke, get submitted, be a good person, shake hands afterwards, do all the right things. And, I've learned so much from other people just by showing up at their gym and them showing me a lot of hospitality. I learned a lot of my game from other gyms, like you were talking about, different gyms have different styles, and to a point they focus on other things.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Like they're so like, this is implementing this way, right? It's the same move done different, or attack it different, or whatever, but it's like the same, like do their own style of it, right?
Throwing nasty half guards at you, deep half guards, and then you go other places where their open guard is just wild. You go to another gym and they're just crazy good wrestlers, and they combine it all with their little weird mix of submission grappling, and you walk out of that with a really good perspective of does my game stand up against that? Am I able to hang with those guys, or are they doing something that I don't know how to do that I can incorporate?
Sure.
And more times than not, it was I got to incorporate something because I've got a gap here. And that's what cross training does. It really helps you to fill those gaps where you might have been focusing on something so passionately for a period of time that you've neglected this other part, and it's almost like a competition. It gets exposed, and now you have to work on that part. And it's such a long process. I mean, cross training, I was heavily cross training for like probably 4 or 5 years. Wow. And during that time, it was just like constant, eating crow, man, constantly getting submitted, constantly getting smoked by somebody. Some guy was a great wrestler and I couldn't get him off me. Like, how do I deal with this? So I go back the next day. Same guy would be there, try something else. And if that didn't work, then try something else and try something else. And, failure after failure after failure. And even to this point, like I roll with some guys that have just been doing it longer than me.
Sure.
That they have more skills than I do, and I still learn from them. I go, oh my gosh. Like even yesterday we were over in Chris Howder's garage.
Yeah.
And rolling with this huge black belt, and I, he kind of trapped my arm in a way, and he just lifted up a little bit, and he started arm locking me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't put my arm there. I need to figure out what to do with this arm, and
that's
like,
crazy.
You just learn something new from everybody, and it's really great, man.
I noticed that, especially when I cross train in the East Coast. And to see your game works in certain aspects, like the things that your knowledge, and you're, you get this invite or you're allowed to go train with the gym. It's cool to see your game work, and then it's cool to see it get shut down.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I got to do this different. And because you're rolling with the same guys for so long, the same little crew, same hours. That's what I loved about the comp rounds, because it's like everyone's in there, maybe from different hours of the gym. And so you get to see new faces, but then you're rolling with your boys at your hours, the same day, same time that you always go, and everyone's like, I learned this move. I know this move. I know this is coming. Like, I know the bone arrow's coming, or I know the lapel choke's, it's like, or the loop choke's coming, and you're just kind of like, and then you use it in another, and you're like, okay, this is cool, but now it's time to open and learn something new. Like, going to Minnesota at times, go train at some gyms out there. Yeah. I think they're a Kleber-based gym, and such cool dudes, man. They're like, Minnesota School of Martial Arts. Shout out to those guys. My wife's from Minnesota, so when we go visit the family, I take my gi, rash, everything, because I know I'm going to go out there and train, and they put you to work, man. They see you, and you go in there with like, I'm going to take in as much time as I can to show up to that gym, because it's like while I'm gone and learn and keep going and stuff like that. That's just super cool to see.
One thing I remember about you, though, because you're a lot smaller than me. Okay, like
just a little bit.
A lot smaller, but you had such a dog in your fight, man. It was hard. Like I had to really turn it up, like really just to like speed, the timing, use every attribute that I have to hold you down. So there's not a lot of guys out there that are like you. I can tell you that.
What's funny is since then though, like a lot of guys like Art, shout out to Art, man. He's one of the higher belts that kind of, when I'd roll with him, we'd go at it like it was like an anime fight. You see those anime movies, right? And he's like, hey, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I need that. I need someone to check me to like, what am I? He's like, you know, but because we would go just going back and forth, Mario, like Dan, all the boys, but learning from everybody, and that's another thing is like you need that capitalization of like, which I mean that's what part of that I think where the dog is too, the guys around you, the guys you're training that push you and that they want you to be better and evolve like you mentioned, and also you're helping them by being a good partner. It's like they have a competition and you're going in. I mean like. Rolls with over here, dude. It's like when we've rolled, it's like it's been tough rolls. I just knew you're monster, going, dude, going into your garage, like everyone in there. It's like, but I didn't go with I just like open mind, like you said, open arms, ready to learn and just use your game and see where's the kinks and keep polishing that. I think that can also coincide with everything, dude. Like anything in life,
business is very similar to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You just take licking after licking after licking and start filling in those gaps and trying to like really have a good game, a good business game, and from where I am now to where I started it's just completely night and day. Business, same journey, So one thing I like to talk about though is like quitting drinking.
Oh, sure.
That was really tough. Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of people out there get into a rut, like a habit. And I think humans are creatures of habit.
Sure.
Like we all are, okay? Like you can get into great habits like jiu-jitsu, and you can get into great habits like, reading and, language skills and people skills and all those things. But you can also get into habits of, drinking and doing things that are counterproductive to yourself. And they may make you feel good for a little bit. And my story is like, doing jiu-jitsu the way I've done it is I was the definition of overtraining, okay? Like I would train more than most people should, okay? I've reached out to like, Mason and those guys, like, how much are you guys training? I want to try to do exactly what you guys are doing. Yeah. And they would tell me and I would be like rolling too much. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I'm rolling to point of burnout. Yeah. Burnout, gonna get hurt all the time. Injuries, and I'm not really balancing appropriately. And going to the gym, going
lift and
hitting the lifting and all that stuff.
Strength.
And so, I would be training twice a day, and then I'd come home and my body just be jacked up, muscles, hit something bruised, and just have a couple beers, right? Just a couple beers, just enough to feel good, right? And a lot of people do this. Like this is not abnormal. Right. But I started doing it pretty regularly, like where almost every day, because I'm a creature of habit, come in, do my work, get home, and I want to wind down, start having a couple beers. And this is over a period of time. It's okay to do these things on short periods of time. I think that your body's okay with handling, one day a week or even just a weekend, and as long as you clean out your system and you're good to go and you don't make a habit of it, like you're going to be fine. Like, but I'm a creature of habit. So, and I was always sore and I didn't really want to take ibuprofen all the time and, rely on that stuff. So I would have beers. I love beer.
That's the painkiller.
Yeah. I love a good beer. So, I did this and over a period of time, 8 years, I was doing it almost every day. And it turned into, 2 beers to like 5 beers to like 6 beers and then a glass of whiskey. And it just got to a point to where every day after a hard training session, I would go home and have a couple of beers and I would feel better mentally, physically. I would feel great. And so I go out to Tennessee, and as I move out there, I'm working on my jiu-jitsu. I'm trying to be a good coach, good husband, father, good at my job, and I'm still doing the same things. So it's always kind of been a goal in me. Maybe it's instilled from me as, from a kid that, that alcohol it's poison and that it's going to, hurt you, especially
creeps up if it's not already.
You make a habit of it. Right. And then I turned 40. So like that was like a big deal, turning 40 and having that bad habit. Right. So what I did was, I had an uncle and he passed away. He had, he had died from alcohol related.
Yeah, sure.
He was heavily into alcohol. So I just looked at it like this is a great opportunity to eliminate this part of my life, and I can, just like jiu-jitsu, I can get better. Maybe I can grow from this experience. So I in February, it was the month of February, I stopped drinking. I just
this year, right?
No, this was almost 2 years and 4 months ago.
Wow.
I just completely stopped.
Cold turkey. I remember you were a man of your whiskey.
Yeah, I loved whiskey, man. I love a good bourbon,
Now you just have a collection.
Now I have a collection of bottles.
Yeah.
So I stopped cold turkey, and I would say for the first month, still training every day, I got this great boost of energy.
A different kind of...
I was feeling great.
Yeah.
Man, I should have done this a long time ago. This is awesome. And about a month into it or so, something happened. And I don't know what it was, but the way I recollect it as it being is the alcohol, as I was drinking it every day, was giving me a bump in my dopamine levels, making me feel good. It was a little bit of serotonin, a little bump, feeling good.
Right.
And now I didn't have that anymore. And my body realized that. And it took a little bit of time for the alcohol and everything to get out of my system. And being in Tennessee, which is really slow there, it's not as fast paced. There's not a lot of things to do all the time where I'm at. So I stopped drinking, and then that month passed, and then it just dropped on me. It hit me so hard that I couldn't feel happy. I didn't know what it was to be happy. My brain couldn't process being happy. And I stayed on a low level. And the only way I can describe it is you're sitting on the side of a boat in the ocean, 20-foot water, and you have a big rock, and you toss this rock overboard, hits the water, and goes straight down. And instead of on the bottom of the ocean being a beautiful sandy reef or whatever you want to call it, it's just like a metal bottom. And that rock hit the bottom so hard that when it hit the bottom, it bounced. It ricocheted off the bottom. And that was me after that time. I had hit the bottom so hard that I ricocheted off the bottom. And I'm laying in bed, and I can't get out of bed.
Sure.
I can't be happy. I don't know what that feels like. I'm just feeling terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm still dragging myself out of bed, going to work, trying to put on a happy face.
It's like a routine autopilot.
I just got to keep going, right. I got to keep jiu-jitsu, you're injured, whatever the problem is, I got to keep going, walk it off, keep going. Keep training. When's the next training? Whatever. So, try to be tough as you possibly can. And, I got a week or two into doing that, and that just became so exhausting. Trying to be happy when you're not. So it took me a bit of time, maybe 2 or 3 months of doing that, just being completely exhausted and not being able to get out of bed, and not being able to hold conversations with people because my mind would just want to race off.
Right.
As soon as they were to talk
focus on anything.
Yeah, I can't focus on anything. I'm just down. I'm done. And several months into that, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm just done. You
just kind of disappeared off social media?
Yeah.
Did you just put a pause on everything?
Put pause on social media. I don't want anybody to see me like this. I don't want to see myself like this. Sure. I don't want my family to see me like this. And you have all these thoughts that come into your brain. And one thing that really resonated with me, and it still kind of bothers me a little bit today, is, have a lot of guilt from leaving people. My grandma, my mom, my brother, my family here, and you're gone and you left, and now you're not part of that life, and it makes you feel very guilty for doing those things. And even though you're making a better life for yourself and fulfilling your life goals, you can't, for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction,
right.
you know? And that was the reaction, is this sobriety of guilt. And so, like I said, I got exhausted of that, and I couldn't live with myself anymore. My brain was just shutting down.
So you couldn't make peace with the detachment?
You couldn't make peace with it.
Yeah.
I was struggling so hard mentally.
Right. It's tough, man. It's a lot of angles start piling on.
Yeah, they all start piling on. Everything that you've ever done just starts weighing on you. Yep. And it's heavy, man. It's so heavy. So I ended up, seeking some help. I went out. I have a great doctor in Lexington. Shout out to Dr. Leah.
Dr. Leah.
She's awesome. She took me in and really helped me out. I got on some medications called Lexapro.
Okay, yeah.
And it's an antidepressant, and I was at that point was willing to try anything. Like, I just need some relief from what's going on up here.
Do you feel like a lot of that kind of came from the high rev life?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, just like
shift gears.
Just
it's
shutting,
hard to downshift for a lot of people.
Hard to downshift.
Yeah.
I would do like lots of hot yoga over here. I would do, like I said, like jiu-jitsu twice a day.
Right.
Go see friends. Go hang out with people if I was feeling that. But now I've got nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just like my family and me in the middle of the woods with nothing to do. So I kind of set myself up for this. And so anyways, get on this Lexapro, and it takes about a month to really start working.
Yeah.
So that first week, it's like you get really nauseous. You're taking this pill. Your body is like, it doesn't feel good. You want to stop taking it, right? But the doctor's like, whatever you do not stop taking this for a couple weeks. You gotta stay on this. So 2 weeks passed by, and I tell you what, Omar, on that third week, it was the most amazing relief that I had ever felt in my entire life. It was like waking up in the morning, the birds are chirping.
Clarity.
I'm doing the right thing. I've done the right thing for myself. I've made myself better. I've made it through this fire, or whatever this fire was.
Yeah.
I climbed through that fire.
It's kind of like a withdrawal from all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A withdrawal from that life.
Yeah.
From what I was going through, from getting older, this transition, this midlife thing, figuring out who you are, what you're doing here on earth, and coming to terms with it all at the same time while chemically withdrawing from alcohol and the life.
Yeah. That dependency, like you said, maybe a dopamine dump at a
little bit of relief.
Where you're just flatlining of excitement. That's like the manic depressive kind of like that we could kind of self-create.
Yeah.
Because I understand that 100%, dude. I get it. Like, especially with a full family, like, I get it, dude. And when there's no outlet, or there's an outlet, but there's not like the routine autopilot isn't a good cycle. You know what I mean? You need to break some things, and especially when I go visit like that North Dakota place, everything's so
you could stay inside and drink all day.
So chill. Yeah, it's like super slow. There's nothing around. That's why there's a lot of problems, and alcohol like is an issue and stuff. But yeah, you're right. It's like, but out here we're like on this rat wheel of. That's like energizer.
Anything goes.
It's fast.
Whatever you want.
Fast life of pressure and obligations, priorities, XYZ, dude.
All of it.
So like that's cool that you took it upon yourself to, like, I need to, that you saw the signs and eliminated the issue. We're talking about kink in the armor in our game.
Yeah.
That's a life game.
Yeah.
That you had that you had a little bit of that flaw.
Yep.
We all have flaws, but it's like the way you come out on the other end is a big thing,
Statistics just speak for themselves. After 40, when you're drinking, there's not a lot of good things that happen.
For sure.
you know, and maybe you dodge some bullets along the way, but eventually you're going to catch one.
It's a slow burn kind of thing.
And I was just like, not going to have that. Not going to have it.
I love that you're still involved with the, you know, did you take on coaching for the kids too? Like
football.
Yeah. Like you're still in the, like that's a good little kind of, if you want to talk about detachment, but now you're trying to reconnect the right wires to the right places.
Yes.
That's a good place to, you know, start balancing your life out too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not all, life is not all about jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's like. No,
for sure. I just knew that you know, obviously I met you in this life and journey of jiu-jitsu. So I always knew you as like a jiu-jitsu, like whether it's partner, professor, instructor. Yeah. But sitting down in the chair and actually tattooing you, that's when most of our talk is, you really get to know your client, your friend, your whatever, you know, and so it's like, that's why I knew there's a lot to it more than, I mean, who would ever just look at you and just be like, he's got degrees, right? He's got a master's, he's got like, you know, it's like he's a black belt. They'd probably see you and just like the way they'd see me as far as like this whole start stereotyping people. And it's kind of like,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy, but and then what's behind closed doors and like the curtain, and you I didn't even think about that side of it where you're just used to the social, like engaging with the people around you and being able to have that release, because I know like when you have your partner in the house and that's as far as your social life stretches is like just that time. How much time do you guys really have for each other, yourself, right? With all that stuff. And you took this, like you're broken away from into this island of Tennessee, away from California, away from the norm, your norm. Now you have to make this new terranium if you're like a reptile, right? And it's like you have to adjust to all that, and still from all these experiences of life where you've been and stuff. It's pretty. I could see that all kind of dawning, and it's a very crazy thing to keep that mental when you get shaky. To keep that thing in line, and that's literally what it means to be locked in. Is that right there? Like you have to lock in and really get everything, you know, back on the harmony, dude. The harmonious life. Chords on your guitar. Like that chord is your family, work, life, jiu-jitsu, and you get that beautiful chord. That's harmony. You need to get, and every day you got to tune that guitar. You're not just going to open it and, I mean, maybe if it's a Taylor 100 series. No, it's like back to a callback for your Taylor. But, you know, some guitars, you pick them up and you have to, what do people do? Make sure it's in tune. Same thing. We need to do that with our lives, man. Every day, especially the older we're getting. New things we're facing. I mean, and it's not like your job has a lot of yourself. You have a lot of input from yourself. You still have to perform in your job. The way my job asks for the creativity, you have to input all your skills behind creativity, behind the outcome of a tattoo. Like same thing with you. Like you have to, with everybody, you know what I mean? It's not just us. It's like, but keeping that harmonious life is and if you don't have that, you know, aspect of it, or like see the signs earlier of there's something we need to fix. I feel like that's like open the gate to something else. Or
that's what they say is, you know, first part of making a change is the understanding of your own bullshit.
Right.
And it's hard to swallow, especially if you have an ego.
For sure.
So I can thank, once again, jiu-jitsu for sucking that ego out of me and allowing me to look at things on an even playing field where things can be improved and things can be, you know, lost. And, you know, like I said, it's been over 2 years now with no alcohol, and I'll never drink again.
That's amazing. You know,
I don't want to. I still love beer. I mean, like,
you're talking about like the harder. Like I never want to make a habit of drinking like I did before and having to go through that again, because I think it messes with your brain. Absolutely. Again, like you said, it's a poison, a toxin. It's I mean, think about it. Moonshine will make you blind, bro.
Life is already hard.
That can't be good. Right.
Life is already extremely difficult. Like you don't need to compound issues by making it more difficult.
Add a factor. Right.
Adding factors.
Right.
You know, you got to man up in a lot of ways deal with it.
Yeah.
As hard as it is, as hard as it possibly is, as bad as it makes you feel.
For sure.
You got to go into that darkness and literally like rest there.
Face it.
Mm-hmm. That's literally the hardest thing to do. And if I could give, any advice to younger guys in that space, if anybody needs to reach out to me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you any advice through what you've been through. I mean, this is great because if we were to pick this apart, this whole conversation, and what have you gained from jiu-jitsu, and to just hear that clarity, and it's like, that answers that question. Yeah, that's a great highlight on jits. But back to the advice for anyone that would need or in search or anything you've been through in life from, up to this point, what that would be, and what would that be? I
would just say, don't make a habit of things that that are wrong. Break the cycle. Whatever you're trying to do in your life, if you're consistently doing something that is wrong, everybody knows what the right thing to do is. If you know that it's wrong, stop it.
Yeah.
And face yourself. Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect people. Find your flaws and work on them. You don't have to be cold turkey, and you don't have to change overnight, even though you can. And some people could, like me, I wanted to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but make an improvement. If you're drinking 5 days a week or 6 days a week, cut back to 4, and then make it a goal to be 3, and then 2, and then 1, and then have a goal. If it's within you to eliminate it.
For sure.
Those little gradual improvements, and not being afraid to fail at things and then retry it again. Those things are...
It goes a long way.
Monumental in life.
Yeah.
You have to address those weaknesses, and if you don't, they'll manifest and they'll grow inside of you and to the people around you, and at some point your whole life will be involved in it.
Right.
And that's even harder to detach as you get further in age.
For sure. So in your area, if somebody wants to reach out to you to join in or to kind of contact, where can people find you? And I'm sure even if knowing you're if anybody wants to talk, I'm sure you'd be able to hey, I'm going through something like this, or hey, I'm from Arkansas and I'm looking into doing jits or advice or kind of any kind of input. Where can people reach out?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me a couple different ways.
Yeah.
On
you don't
Instagram.
have to put your number.
Yeah.
Don't put your number. You don't need no spam call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no,
I do enjoy my privacy. So,
right.
But if you want to hit me on the Instagram, my personal is JJ Huber Wildside. Or you can contact the Wildside Jiu-Jitsu Lexington page, and they'll get a hold of me too. So
for sure,
either way, I'm here.
There it is, brother. Dude, I appreciate you making the time to come out and to the space and just coming in and really having this good talk, man.
Yeah, man.
This is really
honesty. Be real.
What a way to break in the studio, because like I said, this will be the first episode I recorded for my own I've recorded other projects, but for my own personal, the Tattooing Out Loud podcast, I built this, and everybody else, the other 2 episodes that I've recorded have either been Zoom or have been in location in LA at other shops, like buddies of mine. An attorney that's recording in here, he was like, oh, so you haven't even recorded your own? I was like, dude, I have it. He's coming out. He's like, yeah. So I was like, that's going to be my first break in. And from here forward, it's going to be a bunch of artists and certain clients. So this is a great way to break it in and to finally feature the space that, that we have here now for as a hub. But this has been great, man. And for the ambient music, appreciate that. Campfire, even though he boned out, he's out there in the woods. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But no, absolutely. Thanks for everything even for the game too. The game that you showed me, as much as I've learned from you, all that stuff is something again, man, you put those notches in your belt and the people around you, and it's just, for showing me a great side to the journey of, and a lot of people have in their own way, but then this is another great example of what, the positive, what you can take from jiu-jitsu, what kind of a reaction to that action, to joining this, trying it out, and hopefully out there, people that train or people that are interested in getting into this and to see what kind of benefits there is and things like that. It's more than just learning this art. It goes beyond that as a person, as a, you know, the balance and harmony that we were talking about. It's just, yeah, I can't thank you enough for as much as you've shown me the times that we spent together, like rolling, like that's something that is, you can't put a price on it, you know.
You're welcome.
That's great.
And thank you so much for having me,
man.
brother.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys, everybody listening to the end. I know it's a little bit of a longer episode. If you can take anything from that, it's definitely, you know, that advice for sure. The things that Jarod kind of shared with us. So appreciate everybody and see you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys. Been tattooing out loud. Later on.
Later.